All the pimps in the hood say, yeah.
What's up, man? Shit, man. All right, so check this out. Just hanging out here, thinking
Poo
about this
poo.
podcast, right?
Poo poo street.
Can't help but look behind me because it's my backdrop, right, guys? Um, it's one of my favorite things. Mark, we grew up looking at this picture in my dad's office. He had a lot of different photos up there, but this was my favorite. So when Mark gave this to me, I was pretty stoked because it's actually you can find these guys. By the way, you can find them signed by Bill Russell or Walt Chamberlain, but there's only about they said about 100 of them that both are signed. All right, so
I like how you just made that up. There's no way
I
that's
know, right?
true.
It's great. But anyways, so both of them are signed on that one. To me, it's a pretty baller picture, but it goes to the context of what's happening in today's game. We talk about LeBron James coming in and Carmelo Anthony and that whole group just taking over the NBA, and that's in our lifetime. We saw similar stuff in the early '90s with Michael Jordan. The '80s with the Boston Celtics. So we've been through this before, but to be able to have an opportunity, we're able to really truly appreciate as a young player, as a big man in the NBA, which we haven't seen the dominance of the big man in a long time. But to be able to have this opportunity to see Chet and see Victor playing against each other for the next 15 years, wearing an Oklahoma jersey and wearing a Texan jersey, bro, this is absolutely amazing. I've never been more excited as a Thunder fan, and especially the fact is that we got the better of the two, man. Chet is going to get the rings. He's going to get the accolades. I mean, he's going to get everything. Chet is special, and I think people are starting to realize that.
It's true, man. Yeah, we grew up fans of the Knicks in the '90s. Saw great Houston Rockets team being led by Akeem and going up against Ewing. The Pacers had a guy named Rick Smits. The Bulls had a guy named Luke
Rick
Longley.
Smits, man.
Um, the Magic had a guy named Shaq, and then he went to the Lakers. Like the league was dominated by big men. San Antonio had David Robinson, and so it's yeah, like there's some nostalgia to it. There's also a guy named Michael Jordan that really dominated that
Dude,
whole time period too.
but like I want a huge shout out here, man,
What's
because
up,
with
Keelan?
Michael Jordan, a lot of people don't ever mention this person, and I always feel like it's a horrible thing, but we talk about great big men in the league, and especially during that time in the '90s, right? How can we not add Luke Longley to that name? Like we see Sabonis out there, we see Patrick Ewing. Like Luke Longley was like the quiet peacekeeper in that Chicago Bulls locker. He was a defensive impact player. He was a rebounder. He did everything that he was expected to do. And on top of that, everybody leaned on Luke. And it's crazy that every single time we talk about big men in the league, and I know his stats weren't there, right?
Yeah,
But to me, like big men are much more than stats. It's much more than just stats. And if you look at a successful big man, you talked about Rick
oh man,
Smits, like he
you want
doesn't
to talk
have the
about stats
stats to
though?
be considered as one of those, but he's
What would
considered.
Luke Longley be like in today's league?
Dude, it would be so awesome to watch, man. Like I
Because I mean, like honestly, he could really shoot the ball. Like,
yeah,
and
like
and
he just did.
he would play that outside in game that is so popular right now. Yeah, I mean, and you go back like your picture behind you is like black and white. Wilt and Bill. Like you go back even before that, you got George Mikan. And go back before that. Actually, I don't know anything before that. But like, here's the thing: like the game is great. The game has been
George Mikan
dominated
was the
by
first
great big men.
superstar, so you're good.
Right, right. And the vibe I get with what you're saying about Victor and Chet is just that like we're getting ready to see something special again, and we're
Mm.
hoping it's Oklahoma versus Texas because as much as we love other sports and we love that rivalry in other ways, like that it's very meaningful to go against Texas. Like
And
we love
let's
playing Dallas, we love playing San Antonio, love
put this in
Houston.
perspective for all those fans that listen to our show, Thunder fans that are in different countries. Look it up. It's called the Red River Rivalry. All right, it's Texas versus Oklahoma. It's been around since the Texas Red or Oklahoma Red
Over
Dirt. All
100
right,
years now. over
Yeah,
100
it's been
years.
around for freaking ever. All right. And more so than that, if you look back at the battles and the wars of Oklahoma and Texas, like there was like there's this like deep
There was
rooted
Oklahoma Texas wars, bro.
bro back in with the Indians. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, dude. They would
This is news
the
to me.
all right. So you have all right to check this out. We won't get too much into the history, but you
All right.
had crazy stuff that would happen on the borders, and it's fun, dude. Like to me, like I look at this as now we have an
I didn't pay
opportunity.
attention in Oklahoma history. I'm sorry, everybody.
Dude, I loved Oklahoma history. So great. But you look at this and you understand the fact that now we have an opportunity. And not just an opportunity, but we know it's going to happen as long as these guys stay healthy. But you have San Antonio in Oklahoma. You have a team that started it all for Oklahoma because you
Yeah.
had a owner with Clay Bennett that was a part owner over there at San Antonio that sold his shares, took Sam Presti, and went over and went to the Supersonics, right? And then
Yeah.
Clay Bennett's like, I want this team in Oklahoma, right? He brought the Supersonics to Oklahoma, become the Oklahoma City Thunder, and now we actually have a rivalry again.
Right.
And
And this
we
is where you
hate
look
San
at
Antonio fans as much as they hate us. And it's so beautiful because if this happened to Dallas, it wouldn't be the same. But San Antonio, who have all the rings and the prestige and the big time coach, like, bro, it's on. It's on.
dude. You know what Greg Popovich looks like? Um, a chia pet. Chia. You water it and the hair grows. Anyway, sorry. But no, dude, seriously, when will San Antonio be willing to admit that the apprentice has become the master? When will they be willing to admit that we are their daddies?
Dude, they know it. You don't have to ask
Yeah,
Popovich. He just knows it. Like, hey,
dude.
Popovich, are the Oklahoma City Thunder your daddies? And he's just gonna look at you and say, shut the fuck up. Because
Yeah,
he doesn't want to answer that. Like, he would never answer, fuck no, they're not, because he doesn't believe it. He knows that Oklahoma City Thunder rebuilt properly. And not just that, but they have the assets to somehow once in a while to jump up in the top 5 pick
yeah.
and
Dominate
grab
the rest of the league.
and grab an all-star type player.
Yeah,
Like we're picking all-star type players with Case and Wallace and J Dub at 10 and 12. Like you know San Antonio's like shit. That was done
shit.
properly. And just going out and having David Robinson get injured and picking up Tim Duncan isn't good enough anymore.
No, it's not gonna get it done.
And it's not going to get it done. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder are rewriting how to rebuild a team. And not just that, but you think about it. We talked about the other 2 podcasts ago. We talked about the rebuild, how quickly it was done. We came
Yeah,
down to the realization that when the Oklahoma City Thunder traded Russ, that we could technically say that started the rebuild, but because that team was so good that next year, it put the rebuild on hold for one more year, which honestly, that draft year wasn't that big of a deal. And what we got in return was much bigger. So for me, like, I look at this and I can't help but get excited, man. I can't help but understand that, like, the team that's done properly and put together properly, you don't have to solve any issues. You just
yeah,
have to look at it and say, okay, this player isn't stepping up right now. That's not a problem. Isaiah Joe's is not hitting his shots. That's not a problem. We're going to go lean more on Aaron
Wiggins.
Wiggins, right? You got it, man. Like we're going to lean more on Case and Wallace. We're going to lean more on this player. Guess what? Isaiah Joe gets to the gym and starts shooting 1,000 3-pointers a day. He's going to get back in the groove and then scoot back over again. And that's what's so beautiful about this team. It's everybody talks about the starters, and there's one of our listeners that talked about having the starters, and all these guys are playing in different roles. But the reality of what's happening is that the bench is the reason this team is going to win as many games as they are. Our starters could go out there and score 100 points amongst them every game, but it wouldn't be enough without a hell of an amazing bench. We just wouldn't, because we cannot lean on these starters, these young guys, for 35 minutes a game. We can't do that to them.
Right.
We just, if we're doing that to them, we're fucking their careers up early on. You got to give them time. especially if you know you're going to make a deep playoff run like I think this Thunder team can make, you got to give them time. You got to give them opportunities for rest. So once in a while, they're
Yeah.
going to rest Shea for 2 games. Once in a while, you're going to see J Dub rest for 2 games. Once in a while, Josh Giddey is going to rest for 2 games. And it's going to be perfect timing so they miss like 2 games, but they get a whole week of rest. Like that's what's so great about this team and making sure that they get these players extra rest throughout the year. And that's
All right,
why
man.
I think that, you look at this record, man, think
I
about
got
it.
something.
10-5. All right. Let's just say we lose this game tonight, which I don't think we will, but 10-5. All right. If we continue that, that's 5 times. All right. So that's 75 games right there. All right. So that means we are 50-25. And we have at that point 7 games left because there's 82 games in the season. That's what I think this team is capable of. Is sitting here saying we have 50 wins and we have 7 games left in the season. How many more can we get?
Right, which would put us roughly in we're assuming position wise would be right
Top
around
3.
where where we are now
Yeah,
in the West. But
in the West.
I want to make an argument that we're actually going to be better than that, than top 3. I really do believe we'll be the number 1 team in the West. I think um,
You think there's going to be enough
that
injuries?
well, I think when you look at what's going on with the Nuggets, okay, it can be easy to say like, well, they're still at the top and they're
Hmm.
playing really good. They started the season playing really great basketball, but there's some frustration that comes with playing deep into every single season.
Yeah,
Your body starts wearing down,
true.
your mind starts wearing down. And recently, Jokic got I think he got ejected. Mike Malone got ejected from a game. Like my point is like you just get kind of exhausted. And
Absolutely, dude.
also, we know from the Jamal Murray injury, they really are just one injury away. And this isn't a team that's been able to stay healthy forever.
Yeah,
So I think that there's going to be some wear and tear coming from just multiple deep playoff runs. And the
sure.
team we'll see that the cracks starting to form this year. It won't necessarily fall apart, but I
Yeah,
really do think that we're going to start seeing that. I think we've already started seeing some of the early signs, but not necessarily in the win-loss column. But we also have made it clear that the Timberwolves are absolute pretenders.
yeah.
Okay, so we believe that wholeheartedly. There's just no way for them to maintain
I mean,
what they're
dude,
doing.
they might maintain it for 3 months. They might be able to pull it off for, October, November, December. They might be able to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna not
listen,
give it to them. But after that, though, I'm
I
not gonna
am.
give them
I
anything.
mean,
When it
like,
comes to the season on
how
the
long could
line, no.
how long could Team USA keep it together with Ant as the best
But that's
player?
my
Like
point.
3 games, three
But
games
I
total.
would say Ant actually played well for 5 games, and that's
Okay,
that's
he
about
played well, but like
if
the
you put
team
that in
didn't.
NBA context in the
Unless you're
league.
counting like all the bullshit like friendlies, which I don't count those.
But, like, if you put that in the context of the league, I think he can make it till
Uh,
December. I think that team can make it till December as
all right.
pretenders and
Well, I
and
mean,
and be
Cat's a
there in that
pretender.
spot, be in that spot for
Chris
20
Finch is
something
a
wins.
shitty coach, dude. Rudy Gobert, you can't punch a teammate and not have long term consequences. And everybody lets Draymond Green look. They're chumps. Right? That team, they're a result of having like an early good run. Anybody can have a good run this length in throughout the course of the season. A lot of bad teams do have a good run this length. It
Sure.
just so happens that they're started the season, so everybody's like, "Oh, they're number one." We're not worried about that.
Yeah,
Okay, so I do believe, like what I say about both of these teams will prove out on the course of the 82 games. Like there's going to be a ton of regression to the mean. We know that. The question is,
yes.
where is the mean for the Thunder? I think this Thunder's average is going to be very similar to what you were saying. Like we could maybe move one more loss into the loss column and still extrapolate and be like, yeah,
Sure.
that's where we kind of think this team will be. But I think it's the other teams that maybe are still kind of gearing up because there's really no separation between the top and the bottom with this few games left into the season. So I just feel like right now there's no reason to think that we'll be the best team in the NBA or the best team in the West. There is plenty of chance for teams that are lower than us to pass us. But I don't think either of the two teams that right now what you'd consider the top tier, which
Sure.
just based on the wins and loss early in the season, um, I don't think either one of those teams are going to be the ones who have that. I think Dallas could actually go on a long winning streak
Sure.
and make a run at it. I think who else? Phoenix could probably figure it out. There's plenty of teams that can probably put
Oh,
it together on a short window.
seven
But
zero runs.
when
They
it
can go on
comes
7-0
to
runs, and we go 4 and
right,
3s.
right. But when it comes to the course of 82, this team is built for 82. We have depth for days. We see Coach Dagnall not getting players he wants for sorry in the game for many minutes,
Yeah.
and he has to find creative ways to get them in there. If we do go through a rash of injuries, which happens every season, the players who aren't getting minutes right now, who deserve those minutes, will get more minutes.
Hmm.
I know I can list guys that aren't playing right now that coach knows deserves minutes. Lindy Waters, Olivier Sarr, Poku.
Hmm.
Like I get some people like, well, you're not going to win a ton of games when you're playing those guys. I disagree. Like it's all about balance, but Sarr like is actually a big time contributor on the boards, especially offensive rebounds. He does a great
Sure.
job. He's been knocking down shots. Waters has been playing great defense and knocking down shots. I forgot to mention Sarr's defense has been incredible.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much depth. These guys were getting minutes when Kenny and Jay Will were out.
Yep.
Now that Kenny and Jay Will are, back,
Figuring it back.
they've slid down, and they're fresh and they're
Yep.
ready to go. And a lot of these teams, like, yeah, they entered the season fresh, but what happens when they play 4 games in 5 nights? They're on to all these crazy travel schedules, and we find ourselves in the middle of January,
Hmm.
and they haven't really had a rest. Like this team, we know from last year we're going to be hitting the gas in January. And in fact, this season, even though our record is very respectable and we're very proud of it, we kind of walk around with our dicks hanging out of our pants right now
It's
because we're
fun.
like,
Weak, yeah.
"Wah!" Right? We're pretty pumped up about our record. But the reality is, we haven't even been playing good basketball. Just let that sink in
Consistent. I
for a
would say
second.
consistent basketball.
No, no, we haven't been playing good basketball.
Hmm.
Not for us. And here's what I want to say about that. Like, um, every single player on the team is below their average, where their average will be at the end of the season.
Hmm.
Every single player on the team is not playing up to their expectations. But more importantly, okay, the what we want from the team, like what coach wants from the team, what Sam Presti wants from the team, offensively and defensively, we're just scratching the surface. If we end the season where we are right now, coach would see it as complete failure. Not as like a minor failure, but I mean, and if you listen to him talk, right, he's always like, it's a work in progress. We're moving forward. This is the vision for the future. And then he'll talk about himself
Hmm.
and talk about how it's his responsibility to get to the team to that point. I haven't seen it from anybody else who already can look at it and say, like, yes, there's evidence on the court, things are going well. He's acting completely like he did last year
Hmm.
when we were starting the season slow,
It's true.
right? And I've heard him say it so many times, like, we don't want to be results oriented. We want to make sure that we're driven by the right things,
Hmm.
and we want to come back, win or lose, and improve on the things that we can improve on. So when it comes down to like, are we getting the most out of Chet, the best we can? Are we making the most of the talent that we have out there? I can definitively say no, right? And if you were to say like, you had Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell or whatever, even just like Akeem Olajuwon, Dave Robinson, and Patrick Ewing or whatever we think Chet can be, um, and you weren't really getting the most out of that player, could you really be playing the best you could be playing? The answer would be no. Are we getting the most we can out of Shea? No. Are we getting the most we can out of Giddy? No. J-Dub? No. You
Sure.
tell me, Dave. In fact, who are we getting the most we can out of? Well, nobody. And it doesn't mean like there's going to be any point where like everybody is contributing their best at the same time. But I do think there are going to be games where we look up and most of the players are contributing their best at the same time. And people will say, like, we just went in and we played the second best team in the NBA and we beat them by 20 points.
Hmm.
Like, how did that happen? It's like because our coaching, our offense, and our defense is striving for something. It reminds me a lot of John Wooden.
Hmm.
He said, we've never played a perfect game. They've won. I think they won like 7 championships in a row or something.
Yeah.
But we try, or that's our goal. Every game is to play perfect, and you never reach it, but you always come in there. It reminds me of something else I heard. Um, who was it? I think Patton said it, but um, you know, plans are bullshit,
Hmm.
but planning is everything. And I feel like that's where we're at. Like this team, like we have an ideal of perfection. We'll never actually achieve it. But when it comes to ball movement, when it comes to transition defense, when it comes to turnovers, we're always striving for it, and we'll always hold ourselves up to that. And we'll never actually achieve it. But the closer we get to it, the more people will realize. And there's a moment. I'm sorry, I just keep going on and on, but there's a moment last year, a few moments when we were winning games where the ball was swinging around, and there was no team in the history of the league that could stop what we were seeing. And like eventually, the flow, it's harder to keep going when the season's going on and on and on. But we haven't reached that flow yet. We've kind of won some games through brute force. We've won some games through pure talent, but like there's that flow that we're still searching for. And when we achieve it, the level of play that this team is putting together without it, we'll win 15 games in a row. And when we look back and we're looking at this record and we're like, I don't know, say like 25-5, what are people going to say then? Oh, they're too young, they're not ready. Da, da. Like right now, it seems like people are like being brave to say the Thunder are contenders. We're fucking contenders, guys. And it's not easy, it's not even hard to tell who the pretenders are. People have to talk themselves into it. So yeah, we're at that moment now. It's not later. It's right now. And I get it. Some people aren't willing to do that yet because especially in the Oklahoma City media, there's this like thing that happens where they want to wait till they get affirmation from outside media before they start saying things. But by then, you're too late. I mean, if Stephen A. Smith has to be like, the Thunder are here, for somebody in Oklahoma City to realize the Thunder are here, it's too fucking late. You guys are supposed to be there to help other people recognize the potential of this team. And we're here now. So buckle the fuck up, everybody.
Hell yeah. See you guys tonight, man.